So here we are back at Springhouse Farms. Welcome. And today we're going to talk further about springtime flowers as it's starting to rain right now. So we better get busy. And we're going to talk about the full sun spring flowers. Last time we talked about the woodland flowers. And let's start off with the bright yellow buttercup, Ali.
Mm-hmm. Bright yellow buttercup is something we've all seen, and what's really special about it is that the little petals are shiny, and it's just a special little flower, and it's fun to see it.
Yeah, and here's a image with a buttercup and rue anemone and the common blue violet. And the buttercup is a European import, actually. It is actually in the same family as the rue anemone. So they're both in the buttercup family. One interesting thing about violet, since we have an image of the violet right there, is that the leaves are high in vitamin C and A and are good in salads. So we'll have to try that sometime.
Another sun lover is the Star of Bethlehem, and it's just a tiny white flower. It's a native of Eastern Europe and the Middle East, and it was introduced as an ornamental. And we see it sometimes just in our grass, and I steer the mower around it so we can maintain it with. I hate to mow it because it is a pretty little flower. Oh, and the blue flax is another
flax,
one.
Yeah.
And what's fun about that for us, particularly on Springhouse Farms, is that they used to by the spring house they used to use the blue flax to make linen. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And so that's been kind of fun for us. You can also make linseed oil out of it, but that's an interesting kind of a useful plant.
Yeah. The original not original, but somewhere in the previous owners of the farm, there was blue flax around the spring house.
They used to flood an area and
grow blue flax, and it was one of their crops down there.
Right.
So here we are. This is wild blue indigo, and speaking of blue-colored flowers, here's wild blue indigo. It goes
Look at this.
perfectly with
it matches my work boots.
perfectly with Allie's work boots. So she's color coordinated with the flowers. And this is wild white indigo, just shooting up, and it'll have these spires of white pea-like flowers as well. Here's an image of a flower called Eastern Daisy Fleabane. And while this close-up looks very beautiful, it's really kind of a nuisance flower in that it's a pioneer species, and you'll see just droves of it in fields that it might alarm you if you're early in a planting for a prairie restoration and this thing pops up everywhere. But no need to worry. It's just a pioneer species that'll go away very quickly as it gets squeezed out by all the other native species.
Another thing we've had in our field are lupine, and they are really beautiful. In fact, we nurture them because we like them so well. And it was kind of interesting when we were in Sweden this summer. We were remarking on the lupine that they had because they had so much of it, and they said it was very invasive.
all along the roadsides, and we thought it was just gorgeous.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, this is really bad.
It's terrible. So depends on where you are.
Yeah, and I guess in New Zealand and in the Scandinavian countries, it's a
problem,
a real problem up there. Interestingly, bluebonnet is a type of lupine. I didn't know that. The Texas bluebonnet you always hear about. We've never seen those. Onward, here's a nice photo with a California poppy, bachelor button, and baby's breath, and shows a little scarlet flax up in the upper left corner. And here's a photo of an early planting where there's just a mixture of all these different flowers that we've just been discussing, and shows you how gorgeous this can be in the early stages. Now, a lot of these are annuals, and this is not a long-term look at all, I wish, but then again, you have to enjoy it while you got it.
Mm-hmm. And there are just some other things that we enjoy seeing in the spring. We see lots of bird nests and bird eggs. In fact, one time we even saw, it was a hummingbird nest made out of lichen. Is that correct? We saw it in the orchard.
Yeah.
So there's really special things, and we try to identify eggs.
And here is a photo of a swarm. It's a swarm of honeybees, which is a very dramatic thing. This swarm, when it moved, the heat from the swarm had actually killed the leaves underneath the swarm where the swarm was lodged. And it was there for a few hours resting before they moved on to their final location, wherever that was. Here's one. This happened just 2 days ago, this picture. I was doing some watering down by the spring house, and I looked down, and there's a pickerel frog right between my feet. He didn't startle or hop away at all. And you'll notice a pickerel frog because it has square spots arranged in rows. Now you'll hear about leopard frogs. They're a little more green, and they have more random round spots. And the pickerel frog can actually lay 3,000 eggs at a pop.
What was the one we saw today?
As a toad.
Oh, is a toad.
Ali tried to string trim a toad.
I tried to, but I didn't.
Now, and lastly, just as far as little special things, this is one of my favorites, is a spittle bug. So here's an image of the spittle bug in his habitat. And it's actually the nymph of a frog hopper bug, which looks a little bit like a leaf hopper. And what happens is the spittle bug makes this foamed up sap.
Yeah. You see that on a lot of plants.
Now in plants, there's the sap that flows up from the roots is called the xylem, okay? And then the nutrient-rich stuff that comes down from the leaves is called the phloem. Now, most of the time you'd think you'd get the phloem because that has the more nutrients, but this spittle bug actually captures the xylem, which is more just liquid and low in nutrients. And what it does is it has to excrete a lot of this non-nutrient water that it takes in, and it mixes that with air through special little respiratory spicules in its body, and that's what makes the
say that 3 times fast.
and that's what makes the bubbles, is that excreted water and then the air, and that protects it from predators. So that's the spittle bug, and you can, if you see one of these, it's always fun to show off to your grandkids or your nieces or whatever, it's some kids, and say, oh, look what's in here, and then they'll marvel at this little spittle bug in there. It won't hurt you, it's just a benign little guy. So that's it for our little spring beauty lectures, and we'll talk to you later and enjoy the weather in the spring.
Yeah, good to see you.